Coming up tonight on CTV News, updates on the bridge collapse that shocked the nation.
All eyes are on Baltimore and the state of Maryland as it deals with the collapse of the Key Bridge. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have all those details coming up on CTV News.
Plus, the impact it will have on the economy. And the report card is in on graduation and dropout rates. Those stories and more tonight on CTV News.
Good evening. For March 27th, I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. Well, catastrophic, unbelievable, and shocking. Those are just some of the words that describe the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. CTV's Katira Jones is in Baltimore with more on the developing story.
As more details emerge from the devastating collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, we now know that the Coast Guard has ended its search for the 6 missing construction workers and that they are presumed dead. The workers were on the bridge at the time a cargo ship crashed into it early Tuesday morning. We have also learned that the construction workers were all men and were all Latino migrants that worked for Bronner Builders out of Baltimore County. In the wake of the collapse of the Key Bridge, the Maryland Department of Transportation wants drivers to know that the outer loop of I-695 has shifted to exit 1. Also, the inner loop of I-695 at Maryland 157 Peninsula Expressway will remain closed, and drivers should use alternative routes. Katara Jones, CTV News.
Meantime, in light of the bridge collapse, vessel traffic through the Port of Baltimore has been suspended. An immigrants' rights organization, CASA, has issued a statement for the 6 immigrant workers who were killed in the Key Bridge collapse. 2 of those are members of CASA. The organization identifies them as Miguel Luna. He's a husband and father of 3 and has lived in Maryland for 29 years. He came to the U.S. from El Salvador. The other member is identified as 34-year-old Minor Suazo Sandoval, a husband and father of 2. He came to the States from Honduras 17 years ago. CASA says both families were well integrated into American society.
Minor and Miguel are just 2 stories, 2 specific examples of thousands of Baltimoreans that are making a contribution to this beautiful country. In time when there is so much hatred against the immigrant community, we look to the quiet leadership of Minor and Miguel and appreciate how they uphold our society so the Americans can live comfortably.
Now, efforts to retrieve the missing construction workers continues. The economic impact of yesterday's bridge collapse and the closure of the Port of Baltimore to shipping traffic is, quote, incomprehensible, according to the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. Not only does Baltimore handle more autos than any other port in the country, but it also moves coal, construction machinery, and liquefied natural gas, among other things, making it the 17th largest port in the nation in terms of tonnage. Cargo will now have to be rerouted to other ports. Baltimore creates more than 15,000 jobs and generates $1.5 million in state and local taxes. Researchers at Towson University say each day the port is closed costs the state $15 million in economic activity. As for the cost to replace the bridge, it will likely be in the billions. An update to a story we brought you yesterday. The U.S. Supreme Court seems likely to preserve access to a medication used in nearly 2/3 of all abortions nationwide. In nearly 90 minutes of arguments, the consensus seemed to form that abortion opponents lack the legal right or standing to sue. That would mean current rules that allow patients to receive the drug through the mail would stay in place. The High Court is expected to decide the case before the end of June. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. After the break, the American Red Cross is experiencing a blood shortage. We'll tell you how you can help.
All of us have a role to play in promoting a mental health-friendly workplace.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for a supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can be a source of support.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others that none of us are alone.
And that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Welcome back. Well, next year, when it's time for students to get their vaccines up to date, parents may likely have another choice where they get them. An emergency bill in both chambers of the Maryland General Assembly would authorize a pharmacist to order and administer certain vaccinations. A similar federal rule has been in place under the pandemic, but state lawmakers are concerned that the rule could change as federal COVID programs are scaled back. Senator Malcolm Augustine wants the measure to be permanent under SB 18.
The pharmacists are going to be able to be another access point for families who are struggling to get to a doctor's office or go to an immunization clinic, for schools to get their kids in school. Now, this is an access to care issue. I'm very pleased with that.
And the Senate version of the bill has passed both chambers. It now heads to the governor's desk. Well, adults could soon have more access to hearing aids in Maryland. Senate Bill 778 would require health insurance carriers provide certain medical coverages. Carriers may limit the benefit to $1,400 for each hearing impaired ear every 36 months. Now, enrollees can choose a higher priced hearing aid and pay the difference in cost without financial or contractual penalty. The current law has age restrictions, but the new bill would remove those. The Senate measure passed both chambers with overwhelming support. On the education front, graduation rates for Maryland students, including those in Prince George's County, fell in 2023. This according to the Maryland Department of Education. The data indicates that 74.4% of Prince George's high school students graduated within 4 years, compared with 76.6% from the class of 2022. Officials say the pandemic contributed to the decline due to the switch to remote learning. As for the dropout rates, nearly 10% of all students in the class of 2023 dropped out, compared with 8.5% the previous year. Latino students make up half of all students who dropped out in 2023. The American Red Cross says it is experiencing the lowest number of people giving blood in 20 years in what the organization says is an emergency shortage. The organization says that the number of people donating blood has dropped by 40% over the last 2 decades.
There has been, unfortunately, not the same amount of interest in delivering that very life-saving entity known as blood. And so we've been in a very significant blood drive over the last several years in order to increase those numbers. We provide, the vast majority of the blood in this particular area, and it's very important for all of our constituents around the community to participate in blood drives. They're ongoing in every community, and we look forward to having you participate.
To make an appointment to give blood, you can visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. Well, the Prince George's County Association of Realtors says home sales surged more than 19% last month. The group predicts there will be a steady and continued growth throughout the year as interest rates continue to fall towards 6%. Homes are spending an average of 34 days on the market, 4 days less than 2023.
We've had increases in February. We've had increases from January. And traditionally, these are the slower months in real estate. So I think it's going to be really exciting spring market for the region, especially for Prince George's County.
And there are currently more than 800 home sales pending in the county with an average listing price of $437,000. Well, after the break, Simon Buggs is here with the Wednesday Sports page. What do we have tonight, Simon?
What's going on, sports fans? And coming up in sports, UMD football coach Mike Loxley shared what group he's excited to watch during spring training, and a player from the Terps women's basketball team gets recognized for another great season. Stay tuned.
As a parent, you know you can't prevent every accident. Add a mouthguard to your child's sports or recreational equipment list to help prevent the impact of a painful and costly facial injury. If your child does sustain a facial injury, seek an evaluation from an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. OMSs are experts in handling injuries to the face, mouth, and jaws. Learn more at myoms.org.
It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for our Pet of the Week, or shall we say Pets of the Week. Meet Shadow. She's an 8-year-old black domestic short-haired cat. She has been at the shelter since December. Animal management says that Shadow is a gentle cat who craves a little love and attention.
So Shadow's really mellow, so that means that she would probably, she would go into any type of home, and I think she would do a very good job at being a pet. As you can see, she is laying on her back right now. She's sweet. She's a sweet girl.
If you'd like to adopt Shadow or any of her furry friends, you can call Animal Management at 301-780-7200.
Okay, everybody, we begin your midweek sports page with some news from the world of college football. Spring ball is in full swing for the Terps as the team began practice yesterday. And one group in particular that is loaded with talent and fans should be excited for are the defensive backs. Head coach Mike Locksley spoke recently and touched on what he wants to see out of this group in their practices.
One, I'm looking for them to cover the man that they're responsible for covering and executing the techniques. You know, Coach Azar has been really demanding of that group. He's got a young group that kind of like when you're raising young kids, you've got to hold them to the line in every part of their life. And we got a talented group, and it's a lot of fast, long, athletic. So that room now is the one that it's a lot of competition in that room, and I'm excited for it. We got the right guy coaching it, and I'm excited to see that group. Of any group, that's the one that a year ago I talked about the young running back room. Well, this young corner room has potential.
Fans will get to see this group as well as others in action on April 27th when the team hosts their red versus white spring game. Moving on to more Terp sports news, congrats to guard Cheyenne Sellers for being named a WBCA Division I Coaches All-America finalist. Sellers had another great season, being named an All-Big Ten First Team honoree for the second season in a row. The junior also led her team in scoring with almost 16 points per game, as well as assists with 5.5 and steals with 1.3. She also helped the Lady Terps reach their 14th straight trip to the NCAA tournament, where the Lady Terps fell to Iowa State in the first round, 93-86. And wrapping up sports, there will be more high school baseball action this afternoon as Wise will match up against North Point at 4:30. And that wraps up your Wednesday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast now. Tonight, expect rain and fog throughout the area. Thursday, the rain continues with a high of 56. Friday, we get some sunshine and skies to kick off the weekend. It'll be a high of 61, a low of 41, and Saturday will reach a high of 66, and it'll be mostly cloudy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Join us again tomorrow.